Guys, what's the most obvious hint you got from a girl that turned out not to be a hint? Story 1. This happened in my last year of high school. I had a crush on a girl in a band. I played clarinet, she played flute. We were both in the first row, so we sat directly across from each other and naturally looked at each other during rehearsals. At our school, all the graduating band kids were allowed to write a short blurb, which would be included in the program for our spring concert. Anyways, concert day rolls around, and I'm hanging around backstage, flipping through the program waiting for the parents to start arriving. I eventually got to her blurb. Her favorite band memory was looking across at a certain clarinet player. Turns out it wasn't me. Story 2. Senior year of high school, there was this cheerleader that asked for my number and would always flirt with me saying we'd be the cutest couple in the school, and always wanted me to come over to her apartment in downtown Indy, and then told me to make her my woman crush Wednesday. Also spent so much time with me at a concert we coincidentally saw each other at. Also grinned her on me at a fundraiser in high school when the music turned it into a party. The whole high school was telling me to ask her out already because signals could never be more clear. When I asked her out to lunch, she freaked out and was shocked that I would interpret friendship for that. Story 3. Was in high school and worked a part-time job with a girl from my school. She was pretty flirty with me at work. She always asked the manager to take a break any time she saw me go for mine. One time she had me hold her phone and told me to tell her if it vibrated cause she was expecting a text. It did, and when I gave the phone to her to check it, she jumped up and down laughing, saying her grandma is visiting her for the weekend and was hiding all over me. She ended up asking me on a date to go bowling. I show up and her friend that I've never met is there too. She ends up flirting with other random guys in front of me and wanders off with them, leaving me alone with her friend. The friend then told me she would never do that to me and asked if I wanted to be her boyfriend. It was so obvious she had been flirting with me the last few weeks just to try to set me up with her friend, who was far less attractive than she was. I saw through it right away and noped out of there. Later at work, the girl was like, "Sorry, it didn't work out with you and my friend." The flirting stopped and she quit shortly after. Story 4. I needed a haircut for my friend's wedding that I had been putting off until the last minute, and since it was early September, all the places I usually went and could get one quickly were full of kids getting their back-to-school haircuts. So after a long search, I found a hair salon that could take me. The girl cutting my hair was very nice, and we were talking about a lot of stuff. Some things I thought were more than just small talk like local places we both went to and things we did when we were kids. She also mentioned several times that she was a single mother. I took her constant mentioning of being a single mother to mean she was single, so after I paid and left I thought about it for a while and worked up the nerve to go back and ask her out, thinking she had been sending me signals. When I did, she told me she had a boyfriend. Looking back, I think she was playing up the mother part of single mother, so I'd give her a bigger tip, which I did. Story 5. Went to a girl's place to watch the Olympics. It was our second date. She told me I could stay and sleep over because we had been drinking. Her brother and his girlfriend were there, so I didn't think anything of it. It started to get late, and I asked her for some blankets and pillows to sleep on the couch. She told me that I could just sleep in her bed with her. I still did not think anything of it. Her brother gave some pajamas to wear and I changed and got into bed while the girl was brushing her teeth. Next thing you know, she walks into the bedroom in her pajamas and gets into bed. It caught me off guard. I was suddenly filled with happiness. I moved in to kiss her, we hadn't before, and she said I'm not ready for that. I was again confused. I just said okay, then rolled over and questioned reality until I fell asleep. Story 6. Had a coworker keep flirting with me. She gave me her Facebook and phone number. She constantly kept seeking me out just to talk about nothing. She'd always have those marry me eyes and tone of voice. Eventually she messages me to pick her up at a parking lot, and we go around town sharing ice cream and loitering in random stores until 3 a.m. Then she randomly asks to come over at midnight. She lived an hour away, so she came over at midnight to a guy's house she only knew from working with him for 2 weeks and going out. We sat in my room and we put a movie on. Then she refuses to cuddle. She talks about how boys are always trying to make a move on her, and she then takes out her diary from high school and reads it to me. It was probably the most what the hell is going on experience I've had with a girl ever. Up until that point, I was 100% sure if I made a move, she was going to have her way with me. Story 7. I became reconnected to a friend from high school that I hadn't talked to in years through Bumble. I was pleasantly surprised that after exchanging numbers, she took initiative and suggested to see each other for brunch the next morning. Eventually, I mentioned that I was baking for work, and she said, "Wow, you're smart, and you can cook. How do you keep the women away?" I respond saying that I hope she won't be able to have an answer after brunch, which makes her laugh. Brunch goes well, and 3 days later, she offers to buy me dinner to repay me for paying for brunch. I'm flabbergasted and appreciative, but I declined since I already had plans that night and didn't want to be rude. She comes over that Saturday to play board games with my friends and talks about how she should love to come again the next time I host something like this. I ask her if she wants to go paddleboarding, and she's super on board with it. We'd been texting every day and she seemed rather interested, so I thought she was genuinely interested in getting to know me more and potentially date in the future. She gets sick, and with bad weather approaching I say that we can always go another day, and there's always time for a first date. I then get told that she's not looking to be dating yet, and is still getting over her last relationship. A couple of weeks later we go to church together and I meet her family, who apparently I really impressed, and she invites me to a barbecue, with it being only family and significant others. I'm so confused. Story 8. In high school, these two popular girls thought they'd have a laugh by going up to the nerdy group of boys and asking them one by one when they were alone if they'd be interested in having a date with them. Then when the boys said yes, they'd pull a date, the fruit, out of their pocket and laugh. I guess they just assumed because we were nerds that we would desperately say yes, and they'd have got a good laugh. But they got a pretty big awakening. One of the 5 boys they ended up doing this to, all 5 rejected them. We then had some girls come over and say that we were mean for making her cry. But I reckon it's a hell of a lot more cruel to plan on embarrassing a bunch of teenage boys the way she was going to than us taking what they said seriously and respectfully declining. Story 9. Usually on Fridays after work, I like to go to a coffee shop to catch up with some more work. Yes, I'm a bit of a workaholic. This girl, who is about my age, late 20s, works as a barista there. Sometimes she has the Friday afternoon shift. Sometimes she doesn't. Anyways, she was always some sort of flirty to me, which I initially attributed to her job persona. A few weeks ago, she was there at the register with a group of friends, and she was outright flirty. You know when a group of friends gets all silly and giggly? The moment I crossed the door, they even said, "Oh, here comes your coffee boyfriend." I played along, no awkwardness at all. It was a fun time. She even insisted I didn't pay for my coffee. She didn't take my money. A couple of hours later, I'm done with my work and I approach her to say thanks. She apologizes in a very cute way. I tell her it's cool and ask her out. I have a boyfriend. Story 10. Went to Renfest with some friends. Tagging along was a girl I hadn't met before, as she came along with one of my other friends. We walked around for the better part of the day, and I noticed at almost every opportunity she was being very flirty with me, made several brushes up against my arms, and seemed to want to hold my hand a lot. I took this as a sign that she was interested in me, but as it turned out she was using me to shield herself away from the other friend that she came with, who was quite interested in her. Felt pretty idiot about it afterwards, and it was a big blow to my already fragile ego. Story 11. I had a first date with a girl that went really well, and after I got home I got a text from her that said, "You left your dessert from dinner. Should I come drop it off?" I immediately replied that I'd just come over and pick it up. She said we could hang out a little more, maybe play some video games. It was midnight, so of course I figured come pick up your dessert and play some video games meant come over for some good times. So I hauled ass back onto the freeway to eat over there. Cut to 20 minutes later, I'm eating a brownie and helping her pick up multiplayer-only trophies in LEGO Pirates of the Caribbean. We've been dating for 3 years. Story 12. I met a woman at a bar, both in their early 20s. We went back to her place after leaving the bar. We talked and smoked. She excuses herself to the bathroom, comes back in a tiny tank top, sits down next to me, and asks me if I'd like to lay down with her. So we crammed ourselves onto her couch, and I held her against me, and she kept rubbing her hands into my belly, so I finally made a move. She said, "Oh, I don't like you like that. I just get lonely and want to feel some warmth." So I got up and left, went home and got drunk with my buddies. Story 13. I invited a friend of mine to be my date for a wedding. The wedding was great. We drank plenty, and she even got me out on the dance floor. After the party winded down, I went to take her back to her car that was parked at my place. We got in the car and started driving back, listening to old Blink 182 and singing along. She reached over and held my hand. I've been single for 3 years, so this was nice. I decided I'm going to take the long way home, taking back streets and going way out and around before heading home. We finally get back to my house, and she asked if I wanted to hang out for one more drink. She comes inside and we stand in my kitchen, having one more glass of wine. As I'm pouring the drinks, she turns Unchained Melody by the Righteous Brothers. We held our drinks in one hand and each other with the other hand. We slow danced in my kitchen, and it was amazing. The song was coming to an end, and I decided this is it. This is where the guy hugs the girl. I leaned in to hug her, and she very politely pushed me away. I held my head in shame, and we finished off the night playing music and drunkenly dancing in my kitchen. Even though nothing romantic came from this, she is still one of my best friends, and this is my favorite memory from the past year. Such an excellent night. Story 14. Friend in college. We spent a lot of time together. Moved apart eventually, but we would talk on the phone for hours a few times a week. Started saying I love you to each other. One of her friends where she lives forces her to go on a blind date. She never says anything to me about it after that day. Continue on for months talking and saying I love you. She flies up to visit me. I ask her to actually make this official and be my girlfriend. She says she's getting married in a couple months to the blind date guy. Year and a half of therapy and medication later, and I met my now wife. Story 15. I've been hanging out with this girl for a couple weeks, at the same bar, on and off. We'd flirt, make out, etc. She agreed to go on a date with me, then stood me up. No communication, no nothing. So I gave up, went to the bar we'd hung out at. She showed up 20 minutes after I did, with another guy. Story 16. A drunk girl one night once approached me at KFC and said she loved my hair. I said, thank you. She then proceeded to chat and called me really good looking. I responded as a joke / playing it cool. Oh, do you flirt? She responded, I'm not flirting, and stormed off. I collected my chicken and left needlessly deflated. Story 17. Back in high school, a girl in my class openly told me that if she got the chance, she would marry me. She was kinda on the attractive side, so I tried to make something happen, and about a week later she was grabbing me all over, in between classes, so I proceeded to grab her as well. She got mad and wouldn't talk to me for a week. Was left very confused afterwards. Story 18. Girl asked if I wanted to hang out before we went to hang out with friends. We watched a movie. She laid her head in my lap. Then suddenly I'm known as a creep because I tricked her into coming over to hang out alone. I was really confused. Over time, most of her / my friends believed me because she does dumb things like that all the time. But that was a shocker and kinda messed with my head. Apparently I was so unattractive that her excuse for hanging out with me had to be that I tricked her. Story 19. One time I'm chilling with a girl at the crib, and we were just watching some TV show or something. I get up to grab water and do something else, and she gets up and sits where I was, and I'm not moving, so I go back, and I'm just chilling, and she lays on me and I'm like, okay, cool, and then we're watching the TV. She randomly looks at me and says, I need to make out with you. I said okay, and we went at it, and then I tried to make a move. Later out she's talking with a dude. She was using me for practice. Story 20. Received a text message at 1:30 a.m. from a girl that I expressed interest in to come over and help her rearrange her bedroom. Turned out she couldn't sleep and just legitimately wanted help rearranging her bedroom. That's a wrap for this video. Make sure to leave your relatable story down in the comments. I would love to make a video on them. Also, don't forget to like and subscribe. See you next time.